Right. Yeah, that is boss.
She's in the programme.
Like people, if you're live, me and John are just looking at photos
My granddaughter.
of his granddaughter, which is fine.
Clearly once a blue, always a blue. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, let us know if you can hear us. I don't know whether you can.
Is there people there?
I think so, yeah.
So the technology has not necessarily been resolved yet then.
So, you know. Right. I can hear us now. Yeah, that is boss.
She's in the programme. That's delayed.
Like
then.
people, if you're live, me and John are just looking at photos
My granddaughter.
of his granddaughter, which is fine. Let's mute that because obviously it's working. Right, let's go. If you're here, let us know. If you're here, how have you got here? Because I've only just put the link up. So, fair play to you. Joined obviously by John. And we have done some videos today, done a business one, we've done a Tuesday topic as well, which was good. Big thanks to Al.
What was that about? Oh, who's
Where the goals
goal
are coming
scorers,
from.
yeah.
Where
are the goals coming
Where
from?
are the goals coming from? Players, essentially. That was what we kind of finished with.
I think the manager should tip him with 20, don't you?
Be nice. I'll take anyone scoring for Everton, anybody, as long as we get some goals. If you're here, the encoder is there. Don't worry about that, John. If you're here, get your questions in or get some points in, and we'll discuss them, because essentially that's what we're all here for, aren't we? Otherwise, you're just gonna sit there watching me and John not do much.
Look at me, look at you.
Look at you, yeah. To me, to you, to you, to me, and all that palaver.
So where does it tell you that people are on?
It's telling me that there's people here, but no one's asked a question or. Yeah, there's Steve. Steve, you can always rely on Steve Kelly. Always rely on Steve. Evening, Steve. Let's see what he said. John, do you expect any changes in the coming months or years? Of what, Steve?
Yeah.
Of what? Give us a little bit more to go on.
There'll definitely be changes.
There'll be changes.
In the coming years.
Let us. This iPad, I can hear us talking. Let us know.
What you mean?
What you mean, Steve, in terms of changes, players or board level or what? Let us know. Can anyone hear us? Can everyone hear us? Okay. We've had some sound issues. So far, can you hear us? Let us know, because I've just had to turn that down over there because I could hear feedback and it was bugging me.
Well, if Steve's there.
If Steve's there, which he is, what? Just a bit more elaboration, Steve.
Yeah.
For a text, yeah.
He might not be able to hear you. That's why he's not saying.
No, we are. Let's have a look.
There's only means in the.
There's only me, you, and Steve here. It's fine. Board changes, right?
Yeah. Board changes in the coming months.
Years. I mean.
Well, no. Let's do months first.
Months.
Yeah.
Do months. Yeah.
So months. Months. Yes, perhaps there should be, but changes as additions as well.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, we've had 2 members leave the board in John Woods and Keith Harris, and no one's come in.
Okay.
So people, that business one we did, is that going free to air, or is that just on your subscription?
Business one will be, patron will get it first, and then it'll be on YouTube.
Because you sort of asked a question around that, because you asked a question which the answer said we need a heavyweight commercial guy on the board.
So there's a space.
So I think, there's a space, and if people listen to Everton Business Matters, they could almost go back, whatever it's been, 18 months ago or something, when me, Paul and Roger did the roles that should be on the board are these, and one of those was the commercial director, and of course we said the director of football should be on the board, and when we got a real one, he is. So yes, the positive changes, Steve, I think that's probably what I'm saying, adding weight to the experience and competency levels of the board. Yeah, I think so.
Do you think, have you heard anything, John, that there may be additions, or are you just thinking that you'd like to see additions?
I'm saying what I think will happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're not going any more than that. No. Fair enough. Dan Martin said the sound is sound. Thanks, Dan. Thank you very much. I mean, I look at, I forgot, you know what, it kind of slipped my mind that John Woods has gone, and obviously
Keith Harris.
Keith has gone as well. And yeah, you're right, there's been no movement towards replacing them. I mean, I personally would like Big Alistair to bounce in on the board and put his weight behind it, you know.
It's not going to happen.
It'd be great if I mean, just for one person, it'd be amazing if it happened. I'd love it. I'd love it just for one person. No, two people's reactions. One, Steve on Twitter, who's got his picture as Alistair, who messages me every day saying I've heard this and I've heard this. But for someone else, it'd be great as well. Yeah. But no, you're right. The Marcel Brands to the board obviously made a lot of sense in terms of, like you put it, someone who was responsible basically for the playing side and everything. That someone who you could hang your hat on, who's experienced, who's done it before. And I think the commercial side, because of, as much as we might have made some strides, it's not quick enough, I don't think, for anybody in the leaps and what we're doing. And
yeah, I mean, I chatted with the ESC on this recently, and talking about, particularly when you've got levers, then obviously it's just like the first team squad, really.
Yeah.
Anyone you bring in has got to make what you've got better, because there's no point otherwise. Bringing in another, let's just for a phrase, average directors, no point whatsoever.
No point, yeah.
If you look at the constituents now, you've got Denise has got a lot on her plate.
Yeah.
Because obviously Denise and Sasha have swept up what the other guys were doing.
Of course,
you might suggest John Woods didn't do a lot, therefore there was nothing to sweep up there.
Yeah.
But that's quite a small. If you set aside the director of football is really like, as we said on your film, he's like the chief exec of the playing side.
Yeah.
And Denise is chief exec of everything else, and everything else is quite a lot, and that includes the stadium, doesn't it? And the stadium project. You might think the person dedicated to delivering the stadium should sit at board level for the duration of the project, but that presumably would happen as and when the project is guaranteed to happen, i.e. when we achieve a planning application.
Yeah.
And then if you look at what Sasha's doing, which is commercial and finance, he perhaps shouldn't do both. So you could suggest, well, just have a good finance director join the board to manage the financial aspects of the business, and then Sasha can totally focus on the commercial, or the other way around.
Or the other way around, yeah.
I'm not that appraised really, and perhaps I would know if it was true, but I don't necessarily see Sasha as the man who's going to be out there with his marching boots on and his briefcase selling Everton round the world. Yeah.
Okay.
So perhaps it's the commercial person who should hit the board, and I think if we can find the right person, then I'm sure, just like when you're trying to enhance the squad, if the right person is available and fits in with the team, I'm sure we'll see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, all sounds good to me. All sounds good. James Perry says, John, what's your opinion on Denise Barrett-Baxendale's impact on the club since she was appointed? Do you think she has the vision and expertise to take us forward?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
And James?
Two-part question, isn't it? Part one is, has she got the expertise? Yeah. Expertise is a curious word, and perhaps you want to elaborate what expertise mean. I'll answer it while you're thinking about it. She hasn't got the experience.
No.
I mean, but what she has done in the past is everything that's been put in front of her. You know, if you treat them as obstacles, she's either knocked them down or climbed over them. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, the analogies keep going back to the playing side. You know, if you've got a young lad who's banging in goals in the reserves, then try him in the first team. And if he carries on banging in goals, you end up with a superstar, don't you? Yeah. What you shouldn't do is say, oh, he's not quite ready yet, or the standard he's been playing at isn't, it's not real, and so on. So I certainly think that there's nothing necessarily in her background that says she can drive forward a Premier League football club that is a challenger brand.
Yeah.
But then again, one might have suggested when she took on what was a underperforming charity, when she took on Everton the Community, that she didn't necessarily have the experience to do that either. So I think you've got to give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that she can step up and continue to perform. Whether her developing her experience on the job is good for the business or not is another matter. I think, again, like I heard Pat Nevin last night talking about how poor Scotland are, and he was basically saying it's not the manager, it's the players, they're just not good enough.
Right.
Yeah, and the same may apply for a reasonably short period of time, which may be another couple of years, that if the board isn't enhanced, as we've just said, with the addition, say, of a very good commercial director or a very good finance director, then that question will become more into focus. which is if you're not putting the best people around you, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
And if you can't attract the best people around you, why not?
Yeah.
And that's when you start getting into, well, Bill is the chairman. Should we have an executive chairman? And this is where me and the Esk start to bump heads about, do you have a figurehead type chairman, which is what Bill is, or do you have an executive chairman, which fundamentally means he runs a business day to day?
Right.
Where we differ is, I think, well, the latter is the chief exec. And so you can have the president and the iconic role and stuff, but that chief exec has to be very powerful and very strong as well. And I think it needs to be someone who's been in and around media, digital media, who can grow businesses and so on. And there's nothing in Denise's background that says she's done it before, but that doesn't mean she can't do it here.
Yeah.
And let's be blunt, you know, whether you're for or against the lady, everything in front of her, she's knocked down so far. And she's performing, in my view, far better than Robert Elston did. And he'd been in the job 10 years.
Yeah.
And she takes over and the world becomes a better place.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are about timing and so on.
Of course, yeah.
But I don't think anyone can necessarily look at what she's done and say, oh, that was definitely the wrong thing to do. Or like a young player, that was an amateur sort of mistake. I don't think any of those have happened. And so let's wait and see. But what's key is putting better people around her.
Yeah.
And then we'll find out whether she can take us
Whether
the
she
whole
can
journey
lead,
on. The whole journey on.
And I suppose...
And the second part, what was the second part? Oh, it's the vision and expertise. So
Well, no, you said you spoke
so
about
I've covered
that.
both of them really.
Yeah, the impact since she's took
I think the
over, we
vision
just
is
said
fine.
that.
I think, and again, one of the things that's happened in our football club for many a long year now, particularly in and around the Elston years, is that when you say vision, was it the club's vision to do things, or was it one or two people's vision to do things?
Yeah.
And at the moment, I think it's fair to say that from a vision point of view, yes, she does have vision.
Yeah.
Because everything that's going on at the moment around how we're approaching the stadium, how we're talking about the Goodison legacy, and so on, are all clearly heavily hands-on by Denise.
Yeah.
Because they're the very, community assets, involvement with the community, an extension of the charity, type stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see the hard-nosed chief exec of a football club stuff as well, in a visionary sense. And I would encourage these are your patrons anyway, so to listen to the one we talked about, the video thing you did about the stadium, because getting to a place called Start is what it's all about. And I think that's when we start, no pun, deciding have we got the right team together now to deliver on that vision. Well, the stadium stuff has so far been okay.
Well,
okay to good.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, Stephen is back with a couple of... Denise is the long-term chief exec, and then the second part of it is with the stadium a few years away. Do you expect once the stadium is built, Farhad will look to try and sell the club and make his money back?
A good question as well. The stadium's probably 4 years away. Maybe even 5 if you listen to some people about when they think it's going to open.
4.
Yeah,
maximum.
I think it's 4. Yeah. So Farhad seems to be in it for the long game. I think that there's a complex set of dynamics there about ego and ambition and all those sorts of things, and wealthy men wanting to own football clubs. Lots of wealthy men have owned unsuccessful football clubs. And I think he will want, if he does sell, he will be selling a successful football club, because there'll be a substantial premium on the return on his investment. So actually, I hope that in 6 or 7 years' time, Farhad Moshiri does sell the football club for a huge amount of money, because it means between then and now, we've done really, really well.
Yeah, that is that.
Denise being the long-term chief exec, that's sort of answered by what I said before. If she keeps knocking those barriers down and keeps stepping up and keeps proving that she's the right lady, or like the right chief exec, why not? There's no need to change a chief exec just because they've been here 3 or 4 years. But I think what's needed is for the club at a business level is to fundamentally set targets that can't be achieved. There's no point whatsoever talking to the fan base or to the media and say, commercial performance is 20% better than it was last year, when it was very, very poor last year and we're still in the very, very poor category.
Yeah.
You know, and then in a couple of years' time we'll be up to par.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we'll be not too bad, and so on. So we have to set aspirational targets about where we need to be, and then measure our progress against them. And that needs to be driven and led from the front by the chief exec, which is Denise. And I think to achieve that, she's going to have to attract really good people around her. If she puts really good people around her, and we continue to achieve stretch targets, she'll be here forever and a day.
Yeah, I mean,
I think she's got the potential to go on. The nature of her style and the track record she will have built, that in 3, 4, 5 years' time, if she's still around in that period, that she could go on to some big jobs in this sport or other sports, yeah, if she wants to, because she's demonstrating she can be a really effective administrator. And you only have, I know it's a different sport, but our last chief exec went off to run the Rugby Football League. Yeah. I mean, it's a smaller sport, but they're the types of jobs which are seen as bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose from...
Maybe we'll have a chief exec of the Premier League that used to run Everton.
Everton, and then
maybe we'll get decent fixture lists.
Yeah, decent referees. I think from my perspective, looking at what he's done so far, without going too much into the business side of it, the way you guys do, just as a fan on the outside, things look to have progressed, things look to have improved. Could we be better? Of course we could.
Definitely.
Of course we could. Could we communicate better? Of course we could. I still don't think the media side is up to anywhere where it should be. Listen, just from personal experience, nothing seems to have improved since we had the chat with them, whatever it was, 8 weeks ago now. So just from experience dealing with them, that's something that I think needs to be examined, whether that's Denise's remit. But I would imagine as a CEO, what your club in a very much a 24-hour need for news, which is what the football industry is, certainly the Premier League. I still don't think Everton do anything to anywhere near what we should be doing. We just had an international break. We've had 5 questions with Marco, which is great. 5-minute video. Well, I know he's probably had a few days off and stuff, but there should be stuff on our website every day.
Yeah, indeed, and that's what perhaps I was alluding to with the commercial stuff.
Okay.
Where if the commercial leader is someone with that background, a bit like the other side have done with John Moore, yeah? That's his background.
Peter Moore, yeah.
Peter Moore,
Peter
Moore,
yeah.
Did I say John before when we were talking?
No,
I got it right. Peter Moore,
yeah.
And, and that brash sort of confidence that comes from being fundamentally a salesperson, that's the type of animal that we lack.
Yeah.
And when you talk about media, and I think you just said a few seconds ago something like, I don't know if it's Denise's responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, it's marketing and communications, and that's Richard Kenyon, and Richard reports to Denise. My own view is, notwithstanding there's a bit of an anomaly with Sasha, who I don't know who Sasha reports to, but operationally he'll report into Denise because she is the chief exec, therefore everything reports into her. She might not necessarily have all the authority on a day-to-day basis because the relationships between Sasha and Farhad and all those sorts of things, but we need to be far more bold and proactive and things like that. And as you say, a transfer window happening, we do great.
Yeah.
Then we have an international break a matter of weeks later, and it's like Everton doesn't exist, sort of thing. We just looked at the Echo, who are the 10 worst purchases of the decade. We should be flooding the media with content. We know there's half a dozen players out on international duty. That means there's 15 to 20 players who are not.
Yeah.
So do stuff. And it's probably an ideal opportunity to flood you, to give access to your fan media types, to be honest, because the national media are all off following England and things like that.
But it's just little things, John, that, I work in this industry and it's fantastic, but I'm still an Evertonian. I still put the Everton website on to see if there's any interviews with the players.
I never go near the Everton website.
Well, you know what? Because I still don't know enough about Marco Silva from an Everton perspective. I don't know enough about Marcel Brands. Now, I accept that Marcel Brands may well be on holiday now because he's had to work right the way through. I've got no issue with that.
Well, I hope he's watching international games.
But this international break wasn't just dropped in last week. It's caught everyone by. So I believe Everton should have had stuff planned for this. Now, okay, the Iwobi and Walcott, name thing on the head, who am I and all that. That's great, but I want something a little bit deeper than that as well. I want more stuff with Marco. It still hasn't happened. We know that there was a perception with some Evertonians, with Ped, won't mind me saying, with some of the media, that Marco, emotionless, and it doesn't help when he's on the touchline. He's aloof and blah blah blah.
Very personable.
Right?
He is.
Yeah, he is. So how do you know that?
I've met him.
Yeah, okay. I spoke to him in Switzerland. He had his arm around me and we would have a little walk off the pitch just for a few minutes, and he was lovely.
He is.
Right? Big smile.
Yeah.
Well,
I think what we're talking about...
Everton aren't delivering that image across where if I don't like to do it, but I'm watching that Dortmund documentary and, the fist pumping Guinness on it, but you can't help but be engaged by him when he talks. He spoke about Brexit the other week, and I watched 2 minutes of him, so I was thinking, why am I watching him? But you kind of go, oh yeah, right. But Liverpool are great at putting that stuff out.
Of course they are.
They're great at it, but there's Jürgen drunk again and blah blah. It's all party time with him, and there's loads. You can go and find anything. The Red Men get massive access to him. Yeah, there's a hotel room.
I think one of the challenges, and it comes back to the first one of the earlier questions around, which begat an answer around the constitution of the board itself. If you think of a typical business, you got the big pile of employees, haven't you? And then you have this pyramid effect till you get to the main man or lady at the very, very top. Yeah. Then ours probably goes like this, look. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, again, one of the things we said in the early days of Business Matters is we lack management bandwidth. There's very few decision makers.
Yeah.
And Denise cannot do everything on her
true.
own.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But inevitably, things that really matter need to be checked with people like Denise, because whether that's a lack of trust in the people further down the organisation, or whether the people further down the organisation the other way around won't always look up to their bosses, which is part of the style that Robert Elston had, which was a very autocratic approach.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can't fix the world's ills in a year, 18 months. But also, whilst goes back to the question about is she learning on the job, whilst you're doing that, in my foot race analogy from Business Matters, they're still running away from us.
They are,
So we need more
we have to run
bandwidth.
faster.
We need more bandwidth as effectively direct reports to Denise, who she can trust and say, Baz, just make sure that happens. And she never has to worry about it again.
Yeah.
She can now do something else, which is really important.
She knows that's happening.
She doesn't have to keep checking every day, have you done it yet? And I think our middle management structure perhaps needs strengthening as well as a consequence. So.
Okay. Thomas Jennings says, John, the Everton website is worse than the Red Echo.
I don't go near it.
I mean, to be fair to John, he just doesn't look at it. Stephen Kelly says, with the stadium a few years...
Is this his show?
Oh, hang on. Nobody... Listen, he's keeping our questions going, so it's great.
It's not criticising.
Even apologises. Sorry for all the questions.
Sorry for all the questions.
John, he just finds you interesting.
Poor man.
You want to sit with him for a few hours now?
Yeah, come on down, mate,
do you think the clear out this summer, we will be able to maybe branch out for maybe a marquee player next year? Or do you think it's going to take another window to make sure we're financially stable after the mess Walsh made?
Yeah. It wasn't... Let's get first things right here. And again, I'm going to keep quoting the Business Matters thing, aren't I? Walsh didn't make the mess. The football club did.
Well, yeah, but...
And Brands isn't fixing it all on his own either. No. The football club are. But clearly, when you have good leadership with a plan, then the world becomes a better place.
As opposed to...
no
plan.
What apparently looks like no plan.
Well, it was no plan, wasn't it?
Well, who knows whether they had a plan that was...
Well, I'll say it. You don't have to say it.
No,
they had no plan.
No, I'm not sitting on a fence. I don't accept that, in a couple of managers, a couple of managers and a director of football, that between them they didn't have any plan at all. Because if they didn't have any plan at all, then Denise is culpable, John Woods is culpable, Sasha Ryzantsev is culpable, because they allowed things to happen.
But there's having a plan. Right?
It's executing.
There's having a plan, which is he's a good player, and he's a good player, and he's a good... You've told me that, and I'm not going to... You've told me this, that you had a conversation with He Who Shall Not Be Named, and they said, I was wondering why we were buying 4 number 10s.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so there was no plan.
Well, let me finish.
That there was just good players.
Or the plan was not understood. And I think one of the things Brands does is apply structure.
Yeah.
and he explains what he's doing and why he's doing it,
Yeah.
and therefore he builds confidence. And if you do that as a part of a team to your boss, I've just said it.
Yeah.
As long as Denise trusts you to get on with stuff, you're allowed just to get
You're
on
all
with
right,
it, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then once you come up against the buffers of your area of responsibility, you pass the baton on to somebody
Of
else.
course, yeah.
And that perhaps leads into the marquee player type question, because what's one of them then? You know, was Zaha one of those? Yeah. Now, if
I
we
think he probably was.
yeah, so if a marquee player is, perhaps we characterise that as a player that you buy almost for emotional reasons. I want to make a splash.
Yeah.
I want to say we can attract that kind of
Yeah.
player. Or perversely, just we're prepared to spend that amount of money. Even
that.
bit like we broke the transfer window with Richarlison. Let's break it a bit more.
more, yeah,
you know. And so then the question becomes, okay, if through the normal nature of doing your transfer policy, you decide you need a winger, therefore you decide you want Zaha.
Yeah.
Who decides how much we pay?
Well, I suppose within the plan, the sporting director's got a value.
Yes, well,
But then,
well, he has the expert opinion.
Yeah.
So the director of football says, having come into an agreement with the manager, we need a winger, say a left winger or whatever Zaha's classed as.
Yeah.
We need a left winger. Here's the ones we might fancy. Who's your first choice? And they conclude the right answer is Zaha, say.
Yeah.
And let's say the second answer is Iwobi. I'm just making it up.
Yeah.
And therefore you have a process that says we try and get our number one target. We don't get number one target. We get number two, and so on. Everyone would recognise that.
Yeah.
Part of that is getting the right target at the right price.
Yeah.
And the right price is the transfer fee. And maybe we have some subtleties around payment terms and things, and how much we're prepared to pay this person, this player.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing that most of us heard about brands is we have a valuation. He says, doesn't he? That's what he does. He says we have a valuation, and we won't pay over it. Well, what happens if the owner wants a marquee player? And the only difference between getting Zaha and not is money. Who decides then?
The owner.
The owner. Because if I'm running a P&L, right, and I've done that many times in the past, and my boss says to me, I want you to have this amount of turnover, no more than this amount of cost, and therefore this amount of profit, and that's how you'll get your bonus and your salary and all these good things, and keep your job.
Yeah.
Then if someone tries to get me to do something which contradicts that, I ain't going to do it. But if that person is above me, in other words, they can apply authority and say, do as you're told, build that new data centre or whatever.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Then what I do is I negotiate with my boss and say, but I'm not going to count that in my cost base. When it comes to time to kick out my bonus, it's as if I'm doing as I'm told here, not as I would do.
Yeah.
So if you want that marquee player, as the owner clearly does, he's been there before and he'll no doubt be there again, then I think you get to the point where Brand says, okay, me and Marco think Zaha's great for our team, but we don't think we're prepared to pay it more than X. But the owner says, well, I'm prepared to pay 1.2 times X to get him. And after you then, says Marcel.
Which I think happened.
I was about to say, maybe that's what happened with Zaha. And then Parish overplayed, perhaps his hand, and thought he could squeeze a bit more out. Who knows?
Maybe. Or
my understanding was he just his coin flipped over and he changed his mind.
I think he probably looked and thought,
an extra X million and we get relegated.
Well, that's it. We sell them for, I think Everton were prepared to go to 75 with players or whatever. They look and go, well, if we get relegated to 130 million, it's not worth it for us because we've only got a few hours to try to get a replacement as well. So whereas if they're now looking and going, I tell you what, if Everton come back with Wilf Zaha in January for 70 million, I'm saying we will, we can now start looking now. We can get him and him and him for that 70 million. So we'll sell them and we'll have got 3 players in.
See, I mean, you say something there which to me is a huge misnomer because if we talk about brands having a plan, if you don't get player A, you get player B.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, and I've talked on Business Matters the last podcast about, I have a meeting with you in the morning. You're Zaha. You're the one we want.
Yeah.
Then I have a meeting with Iwobi in the afternoon. No. You're the one we want. And somehow what you actually want to happen is both of them say yes, and then you get the one you really want.
Yeah.
And clearly, in this case, Zaha's employer said no, and if we're using the analogy, then we take Iwobi, don't we? And part of Brand's skill seems to be to make players believe they are definitely the player we want, and that makes you feel good. But to do that, you've got to have a plan. Well, Crystal Palace had a plan. You know, for a good chunk of that window, they expected to sell Zaha. The manager was saying, yeah, we're expecting him to go, we'll deal with it. And then at the last minute, he doesn't. And maybe in January they think we're unlikely to get relegated now, therefore we'll sell him. Or we are going to get relegated regardless, therefore they'll sell him.
No, he's not.
But I think the moment may very well have passed.
Yeah,
so
listen, looking at the Zaha thing, I think you're right. But what I would say is, it's my understanding, and probably yours, that Everton would have bought the both of them.
Oh, you mean Zuma as well?
No, Zaha and
Oh, sorry, yeah, I think so.
And Zuma,
yeah,
all three of them on the deadline, but it wasn't that. And I think some people thought, Zaha's fell through, so they're just buying Iwobi. Well, Iwobi was agreed earlier in the week.
It was, yeah.
And then Zaha, we know Zaha was, because Roy Hodgson come out and went, he wanted to go to Everton, he's fell out with the board. This is on deadline.
And that's why you'd expect him to have the cuddles he's getting now. Oh, you can go in January.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Because you want him to play for 3 months. I hope that was a decent answer. The short answer would be yes.
Yeah.
He does want a marquee player. He does want people to go, oh my God, how did Everton do that?
Is it?
We're in the foothills of that with Keane, of people, you know.
But Moise Keane, of course.
When you get Souness bitching and whinging, there must be something wrong there, because how has he gone to a club like Everton? Because Brands does a good job. The relationship with the agents is good. Helps if you have the same agent. Blah, blah, blah. And that's part of the hidden value.
And you can say to someone like Moise Keane, look at, say, Romelu Lukaku, for argument's sake, look at how his career, he went there, stayed there for 4 years, got better and better, and went to a big club. We don't like to hear that because we're Evertonians, and we're the biggest club in the world, but for a player like Moise Keane, he could look and go, well, I'm 19, I could play for Everton for 3 or 4 years, score a load of goals in 4 years, 3 or 4 years time, Juventus might want to buy me back for big money.
Well, Tom Martin said,
Barcelona,
Tom Martin, and it goes back to the commercial question, you know, how do you sell Everton?
Yeah.
You know, and if people get comfortable and think, well, you know, we can't, until we get the new stadium, we can't do anything. Well, they need to move on, those people,
definitely.
right? The question would be, how does Brands sell Everton? And you've just done part of the pitch. He clearly will say, listen, this is, I've used some real daft phrases, but this is a sleeping giant. We've got an owner who's committed to spending loads of money. We're going to have a brand spanking new stadium.
Fanatical fan base.
The fan base is amazing. We have a history of giving players like yourself the opportunity to shine in the Premier League. And if we come to a point, Lukaku will be a classic, I suppose, when you don't think your career progression can be dealt with within the club, they won't stand in your way. But be careful what you wish for, because look what's happened to Lukaku and so on.
But that's it.
Because he got to stay there and being a legend, right? And that's part of the pitch.
And then, you know what?
You're going to get game time, you're going to play. Iwobi would have got to say, you can stay at Arsenal if you want, come on for 10 minutes at the end of every game. Or you can be here and be adored by the fan base.
Matthias Sammer in that Dortmund documentary.
Oh, he's pushing this Dortmund thing.
Listen, I haven't done it myself, so there you go. But make sure you watch it if you can. It's absolutely fantastic. But he talks about it.
Can't be a surprise it only came out after we went over.
Yeah, of course. We told him. But he's talking about, he says, like, we can't compete financially with Bayern Munich.
Or the Premier League,
just keep
whatever,
going and going and going. He said, what Dortmund have always done is develop a player, sell one at the right time.
Absolutely.
Make your money, reinvest. He said, it becomes a problem if you start selling your best players. He said that can never work because you destabilise them.
Southampton it's called. Yeah.
Well, it's one every few years for big money. Fair enough, you cope with that, and you can still build your team to compete. And that's what everyone have to do. I understand that Farhad Moshiri won't keep going. Yeah, every summer, 150 million of my money, because his money will trickle away. You can't do it.
He's only a small billionaire.
Exactly. So I accept that. It's great that the club makes money and then he goes, well, I'll top you up. You want that player? Yeah, because I'll get my money back on him. I know that at some stage we will have to sell Richarlison for big money. Don't like to think of it because you want these players to all mature. But even our friends across the park have sold their best player 3 times in the last 5 years for big money.
They've done what Dortmund say they do.
Well, exactly.
Sell a big player at the peak of their value.
Reinvest the money and build and go again, and then hopefully you get to that level where them players don't want to move on unless it is Barcelona or Real Madrid.
Can't get them out.
You've got 2 play 2 teams, whereas anyone else is like, and that's what Liverpool will have now. You can talk about, they'll lose the best players, but they might lose Salah next summer, but they're in a position now where they could go and buy, say, Timo Werner or someone, another world star now who might go there who wouldn't have done, because they've got themselves at that level. But 2 years ago, they would have been in danger of losing Mane and Salah and people like that, you know, if them clubs would have come calling for them. Now, as much as I don't like to say it, probably only a couple of teams could come and take their players at the moment.
But it's a good game, though, isn't it, when to play? Because, you know, in my professional life, if you get targets, it's fundamentally what and when.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the targets that's been there since the beginning from Moshiri is the football club needs to be sustainable and stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
We've never got the when.
No.
Because it's not that right now. We're still spending more money than we bring in objective terms. We're still increasing debt. We're still probably likely to be in breach of regulations for European competition and those sorts of things. So we're coming to the moment when we have to see a huge windfall of income through commercial performance, which just isn't, you know, unless there's some magic tree out there, can't see it happening overnight, certainly not by the end of this tax year, financial year. Or as you say, you sell players, you know, at the right time. The challenge they may have, it's not about them, but is that in the past, they would have, like a Coutinho sale, they'll sell someone right at the top of their value. And they may end up having to, just because players don't want to leave, keeping players past that point. And perhaps, hopefully, touch wood, be in the place where other clubs can find themselves, Man United being a good example, of ending up with players, and we've got them as well, who are earning too much money and not really in your team. And if they are in your team, they're not value for it, but you can't move them on. And you know, when they have a feel-good period of sticking everyone on 5-year contracts, you're stuck with them forever and a day, aren't you? So, yeah, interesting. And that's all those balancing acts. And therefore, and I think we've talked about this on this live thing in the past, that's why you have to have the director of football sitting at the board. He needs to understand the context of why he hasn't got a bottomless pit of money. And by the same token, he probably sits there today almost like a position of strength, and you know, sort of sits there when the chief exec's going around the table saying, "What have you done today?" And he goes, "Well, I've generated 50 or 60 million pounds of player trading profits. What's my commercial man done? You know, what's the match day income man done?" You know, and we need those pillars all to be supercharged and performing.
James Pirry, obviously you know more about the business side than me, John, but from a fan's perspective, I would define expertise as being, in this sense, the ability to create a culture and structure throughout the football club conducive to being the best in each area. This would need to be done through ambition, innovation, and, as you say, the people she puts around her. Thank you for your answer. I'm encouraged by the early signs I've seen from Denise.
He's right to be encouraged. Yeah, absolutely.
Fair enough. Kane Forshaw says, how can we change our away form? Because that's the problem, I think. That's all this team
needs.
Is kind of lacking, I believe, is that just the ability to win more away games.
It's funny, isn't it? Because anyone, if you look at this, you know, you can imagine being a fly on the wall, and it, clearly, you know, I'm saying this, but clearly, you know, Amazon Prime will have Everton the season before they go into the new stadium, surely, if not
or
before,
Netflix,
or Netflix, indeed. If not before, because they clearly can see it drives you know, subscriptions and stuff.
Oh God.
And if nothing else, we were the last man standing at the so-called top 6 or 7. You know, can they get to Man United? They've done City, the RS. Have they done the RS?
They haven't done.
They've done bits and pieces.
They've had the goal.
So anyway, when they do that fly on the wall thing, you can't imagine that the manager sits there at Goodison, or stands in the room at Goodison Park telling them to do this, and then for away games, do what you like, lads. Do what you like. So
how do you argue?
It's a conundrum, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's what I mean. We change the players. We've changed the players regularly over the last few years.
Well, we've added.
We've changed the managers. And yet our away form's still not great. And yet I would say we've got certainly the most talented bunch of players we've had for a while.
Well, if you want to be half full, then you're saying that the Goodison effect is quite significant.
Well, it is.
For a ground that we claim doesn't have a particularly good atmosphere, and more often than not is on the back of players, then they apparently perform much better at home than they do away.
7 straight home.
It's not bad, is it? Yeah. But for this temporary, right? So I don't analyse it enough. I'm too involved from a passion point of view, watching what's going on in the moment. To, like some people who watch it on TV can and listen to pundits at half time and all this sort of stuff. They will have a view, but I don't know. Intuitively, I just think we need to be more confident in our ability to outgun the opposition away from home. You know, why would we go to Aston Villa or Crystal Palace and be cautious or try and control the game if at home we'd have just gone for them and turned them over? You know,
I think we did try to just control the game against Villa, but we just didn't see it. It seems harder for us to score away, which is nonsense.
Well, take Villa as an example then, right? I mean, I was saying to my mates, because for once I didn't have to drive, I was chauffeured, which was good. Yeah. It just means 4 of us in a car. Yeah. And one of the things I was saying was, how do you think we're going to play tonight? You know, sort of thing. And the thing I thought we should avoid is dominating the game in possession terms, reasonably far up the field, but in a passive way, which is what we sort of did, because the dream for them was a counter attack.
Yeah.
And they got the counter attack. And they got the counter attack, and they scored. We should actually perhaps have done the opposite, which is to sit off them,
give them the ball,
and let them have the ball. Which over the years, the last 2 or 3 years, and you know, part of our City, they're a counter attacking team. You know, and they struggle when they but they struggle, and City do to a degree, but City are more adept at it because they've got faster thinking players. So you can have pace, but you can have speed of thought as well. So Villa, I just thought, well, we just got suckered into. They're going to try and counter, and once they've got the lead, they've made it then, because they will sit on the edge of their own box, and then, you know, okay, it was near the end.
They went into the low block, didn't they?
So I don't think it's a conundrum.
Do you think?
I don't think anyone knows the answer to the person who's, you know.
Kane.
I don't know, mate.
Kane goes to every. You'll have seen Kane, mate.
Yeah, I probably know your face, mate. Yeah,
goes everywhere.
Come and say hi if you see me here.
Do you think some of it is literally just knife edge stuff as well? And what I mean by knife edge stuff is we get the first goal, we're good enough to win the game, and if we can, because the one thing we haven't done under Marco Silva is come back from being behind and won a game. And that's something I think we need to put to bed.
I've lost track of the number of times I say, you know, it'll all depend on the first goal, sort of thing.
But it does a lot of times, doesn't it?
And I think the development or the maturing of the team is what happens when we go behind, or what happens when we get pegged back. You know, and
can we still play with the same confidence?
Yeah, and as recently as the last third or last quarter of last season, we were very fragile when, you know, you think of Newcastle and the like, which is why I know it was a lesser league team, but, you know, keeping going against Lincoln was good.
Yeah.
To a degree, the last home game was similar, you know, in the sense that.
I think when we went 2-2, the response was, I personally thought the response was excellent, whereas in the past we might have gone, let's try to not lose this now, and that's the worst thing you can do.
So if you think of the maturity
stages
thing, let's assume we're okay when we score first. So let's think predominantly like it happens in the league. If you take the lead, you tend to go on and get something out of the game. Yeah. Then the next thing is, well, if you take the lead but you peg back, do you go again?
Yeah.
And I think we're into that one now, aren't we? And then the next one is you fall behind. I mean, the best in the league at dealing with falling behind are City. They just carry on playing. They have so much confidence in their ability that it's almost like, how very dare you, you know, sort of thing.
It's
and now
keep doing what
they can be got at just like anybody can, and players and therefore teams will panic when the pressure's on. Everybody plays hard. It's more. It's a difficult game when you're under pressure. But it's a mindset thing then, isn't it? And the fragility of some of the players.
I mean, that's kind of what Kane's come back as well and said. I think our away form's a mentality problem. Personally, just ran through the club through the years. No, it has, Kane, but
that
again,
running through the club thing's a really odd thing.
It's mad though, because that's what I'm saying. We've changed managers. We've changed. Is it the fans then? Is it how we're feeling at those away games and going, oh, I don't think we'll win this? Whereas you'd argue that every time you talk to an RS, they think they're going to win every game 5-0, and therefore ultimately a lot of time they win games. So is it almost like a law of attraction thing here, where the power of positive thinking, self-fulfilling prophecy, is it? Because if we had the same manager and the same team for 5 years, and you'd go, it could be a mentality thing. It's like Moyes would be had no belief he could be beaten away top 40. He had no belief, and I know that for a fact. It was like, let's not lose though. But he was good at, you know, City had no respect for, so we won this 7 years out of 9 or something. But other teams, he struggled with, like Liverpool and things. But at home, he had the belief we could beat all of them, and that's why we did beat all of them under his tenure at home.
I mean, it is an interesting question. I couldn't help smiling to myself because of this. You know, you were saying we've changed managers, we've changed players. Yeah. It's like Trigger in Only Fools and Horses, who's had that broom forever. But he says I've had 10 heads and 15 shafts or whatever it is. So it's not the same broom, is it?
It's all.
But there is an underlying. You know, football clubs, just like any group, and there was a question earlier on, have cultures. You know, and one of the cultures, behavioural stuff that clearly persists in the football club to this day, and let's just capture it as lack of confidence, lack of belief in the brand, in the football club, whatever it might be. I mean, I've got, and the people, if they ever listen to these things, they will know who they are. I think I've said this to you before. You know, I've said to somebody, you know, well, when will we have 2 million Twitter followers? Oh, that's never going to happen. Well, that's a defeatist approach to life. And the stadium capacity, let's not get onto that again. You know, fundamentally, the football club does not believe that if we had a 60,000 seater stadium, we would sufficiently sell it out to A, justify the investment, and B, not run into the problems of empty seats. When people like me, and perhaps you, and the people listening or watching, think, don't talk rubbish, of course we'd sell it out.
Of course we'd sell it.
Now, we might have a challenge if we're finishing, you know, 16th every season. But for the first couple of seasons, it would always be full. And it would bring buying power and so on. And that's what you have to do when you're leading a business, or you're leading what fundamentally is a change program is, you know, someone keeps telling, and I criticise the stadium project, please don't call it complex. Because as soon as you say something's complex, almost, if you say it in the wrong way, you're saying, "Oh, this is really hard. It's really hard." You know, and you know, my preaching that I used to do for my teams when they worked for me was something complex. There's only a lot of simple things joined together. You know, so you just do your bit, and the other bit, and that's where the leadership, if it's Denise, say, because Bill probably doesn't get heavily involved day to day. Therefore, she's running the thing day to day. It's her holistic view of why all these little things need to be done. And the analogies keep coming back. If you talk about football itself as the analogy. Win your personal battles. You win your personal battle, you win yours, you win yours, you win yours, and guess what? We'll win the game. Okay? And that needs to happen off the field as well. So I know we're flowing backwards and forwards, but they are so intimately linked.
They're intrinsically linked together, and because that.
I said to you before when you were doing the other stuff, you know, when we're trying to acquire players, it can't have done any harm that we were showing those really emotive and powerful videos of our brand spanking new stadium and what it'll look like to go down the players' tunnel with all the people and the sirens and all that. And if they will have shown that to players.
It's perception.
Do you want to be walking down this corridor in 3 or 4 years'
perception.
Time? Of course it is.
This club's moving forward. Look at this new stadium. Look at this.
And the thing they have, the other shower, is that almost unwavering confidence that it'll be all right in the night.
Always
we're 3-0 down with 10 seconds to go. We'll win this.
And then they get one, and then everyone goes, "Oh my God, they will!" And that belief is there. Joe Mack says, not a question, but check out the update of People's Project that for more views on the stadium. Interesting. Will do.
Okay.
On the app, maybe there's more things on it. Simon Rouse. I'll explain later, John. Even an all great show as always with some brilliant insights. We must be far better with our FFP after the great job Brands has done getting rid of the deadwood this window. I bet it was a scary amount we were throwing away on wages for players who aren't in the first team plans. Me and John have done this from Simon.
He needs to listen to that other thing.
We've done a business.
Watch it, sorry.
It'll be out tonight or tomorrow on Peyton Simon, but we get John's insight onto that. But I think we are in a healthier position than we were before the window.
Yeah, we're out spoiling the film and the ending. Yeah. We're not out the woods on FFP.
No, but we're better than where we were.
Clearly, yeah.
Stephen Kelly again. What's the Mina video today? Baz, good work from you and Piv. I look back last season, a lot of his performances when he played, and thought he was excellent. Agree with you. Think he could be our VVD. Do you think Coleman next season is going to be Baines last season? So basically, do we see Seamus next season kind of being phased out the side? Because that seems to be the big area where Brands and Silver are talking about. We've obviously got Jibril Sidibe in at the moment to have a look at him. There's an option to buy him if he does well enough. Marcel Brands did an interview, don't know whether you've seen it, about the transfer window, spoke about John Joe Kenny and how much went into that, and they're going to let him develop over this season. So there seems to be a lot of focus on Baines.
That's talking about a player you want to sell.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
John Joe.
Oh, yeah, I know. But you're also giving him the opportunity to improve enough to say, well, you've got a chance.
His goal was a good start.
It was a good start. But
yes.
Coleman, I think, is...
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's phrase it this way. He should. You know, we're enhancing the squad. We should be expecting to phase him out.
Yeah.
It goes back to the...
He's 30 now, isn't
Yeah,
he?
it goes back to the conversations we had before about... they might just go over the top, you know, and then they become the reliable second in line, but not the front line troop. And that might have been on their agenda for this window, but it's not a burning bridge at the moment, is it?
No, but that is right. You've always got to be looking and seeing.
Every squad position needs to be improved.
Everyone comes to the end, don't they? Right, we're going to leave it there. We've done an hour.
Have we?
John's got to get home and persuade his missus to let him go and watch the footy with his mate and have a pint. I've got to get home and make the tea for my missus, so there you go. Thanks for everyone who's joined in and got your questions in. If you're watching this on the rerun, put questions in every day if you want something discussed on whoever is here. We will do it for you. Okay. Big thanks to John for joining us. Interesting as always. Try and get him in a bit more regularly.
Just ask me.
Yeah, well, you know, got to turn up as well when you ask, but you know, he does, to be fair. I'm only messing. Big thanks to everyone for joining. See you later.
See you guys.